All right, good morning. Happy Valentine's Day. I hope that you are not single today. I'm single. I had a couple beers last night. Welcome to Big Phacts. I'm with Justin Everett. I'm with our producer, Jeff Berg. Justin, you're a married man.
I am.
What'd you do for Valentine's Day this morning, bud?
Well, so I'm having a child for Valentine's Day. For anybody that doesn't know, I have a baby that's going to be born in the next couple of weeks, and that is our Valentine's Day present. But I'm having my family over for dinner today. I just got into baking bread a couple of weeks ago because I'm old and I'm a Grays guy. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
You're a great guy.
Yeah, what's the next step? Death?
I think I have to spend a couple years in a rocking chair first, and then death. But yeah.
Right.
So I made some pink bread. I'm gonna make into little heart-shaped rolls for dinner tonight, and
That's cute.
here we got my kids some stuff, and we're having a baby, dog. I spent enough money on my children. Me and my wife didn't do much for each other. It's just 10 years this year, buddy. It's just living life.
If the food coloring's pink, is the poop pink? Next day.
If you eat enough of it.
I'll let you know.
You let me know.
Pay attention to the Twitter. I'll post an update.
Download Snapchat and we'll make it disappear. So we got a lot to talk about today. Sixers we'll get into. We'll get into this ongoing Eagles drama that absolutely I think we try to tell you guys what's going on. We have no idea. Nobody has any idea. I think Howie Roseman, Carson Wentz, and Jeff Lurie know, and that might be the extent of it. We have to get into talking about a little bit about this Tampa Bay parade, bud. Everyone on some boats. So I want to ask, because there's a couple post-Super Bowl moments that stand out to me. Obviously, when we won the Super Bowl, what stood out to me was the Jason Kelce speech. Top 3 passes of the year, maybe, with the Lombardi trophy going from Brady's boat to Gronk's boat. Is that a top 10 play?
I'm glad that Gronk got to put his hands back on the trophy. I'm happy for him for that. Dude, it looked just like a fucking fun time. We were talking about it at work yesterday, and my owner's like, dude, like, we had a parade when we won. They're having a parade on boats. It's a fucking another level, dude.
Well, they had to. Right,
yeah.
Because there's, I guess, when you're on land, there's still some restrictions around certain areas. Not that anybody in Florida gives a shit about those, because they don't really follow any of them anyway.
Jeff knows he's in Florida.
Yeah, but there's one boat over here, one boat over here. No one has to wear any masks. Brady's walking off the boat like he just got shit hammered in Vegas for 6 days. It's my favorite Brady so far. I've always liked Brady because I appreciate his greatness. I wanted to beat him as an Eagle, but I was never like one of those guys that was like, oh, I'm fucking sick of Tom Brady being in the Super Bowl. I know most of Philadelphia is. I appreciate this Tom Brady. I don't know how you're viewing this because I know Philadelphia in general just doesn't like the guy. I love this version of him.
Well, people in Philadelphia don't like Tom Brady because he crushed their hopes and dreams. And I keep trying to explain to people, Donovan McNabb crushed your hopes and dreams. It was not Tom Brady. It just wasn't. I mean, this is the reason why, like, Phillip Rivers is probably going to be a Hall of Famer and Donovan never will, which is a conversation I'd like to get into with a little later. I love Tom Brady the way he is now. Just put yourself in a world. Imagine a world where you are what was he, a starter in his third year? Third year.
I think it was second. I think it was the second.
You weren't highly recruited coming out of college. You were drafted in the 6th round. You weren't supposed to be anything special. You were a guy that was going to hold a clipboard because you were kind of smart. And then all of a sudden, here's the greatest player of all time. So this arc that he's taken is unbelievable. And until now, he's been very straight and narrow, very rigid, quiet, not really enjoying himself. He has said some things on hot mics that are a little bit not okay, but he's the greatest professional athlete of all time. I love seeing it, dude. I love seeing him have fun. I hope that Chris Godwin comes back on a 1-year contract and we see this team run it again because this is a fun team to watch, and they're even more fun to watch celebrate.
Yeah, you're never going to see anybody do this again. Like it's impossible. You're never going to see it again.
I'd agree with that because it takes not a 6-month commitment in the time that you're in football season. The guy's committed 12 months a year, except for the one day post Super Bowl parade for the most part. I mean, it's such a discipline and such a commitment that I don't think that over a span of 2 decades we can see another player like that, with also the leadership skills that he has to get people to perform on a higher level than they're capable of for the most part. So
he was the greatest quarterback of all time last year. He was. He is the greatest professional athlete in team sports of all time. There is nobody that has had an effect like he's had. We're talking about a guy who at 42 years old walked into a new team with a new coach, with new management, with new trainers, with new players, had no OTAs, had no offseason program, had no preseason football, won 11 games, and hoisted the Lombardi with an entirely new cast of guys. It is borderline unbelievable.
Let's talk about what ifs too. Like if looking around the league this year with teams that had better athletic quarterbacks, or even just quarterbacks that are potential Hall of Famers, he could have won a Super Bowl with like 10 different teams. He could have won one with Seattle. He could have won one with a healthy San Francisco. He could have won one in Pittsburgh. He could have won one in Dallas with all the talent they have. Like the only reason that he left New England, I mean, not the only reason, but it's because Bill Belichick couldn't put a receiver, even one receiver.
I hope I don't hurt you guys with what I'm about to say, because I know that you two have the largest boners in the world for the young man I'm about to mention. But he could have gone to Green Bay and taken Aaron Rodgers' Packers and gone to a Super Bowl. It's just the truth.
Maybe.
It is right now what we have to accept is for the last 15 years, the hierarchy of quarterbacks in the NFL were Tom Brady and everybody else. And the order didn't matter.
Well, the argument with Rodgers isn't about his talent or skill. Brady's just obviously a better leader than any other quarterback in the NFL. Speaking of which, I want to pivot to this because it makes me think of something. So right over, Russell Wilson, for the first time in his career, goes on a couple radio shows this past week and basically goes out and says, and this is a guy that hasn't said a fucking word in his whole career. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been to back-to-back. He's been a great leader. Flawless resume as a human being. Flawless resume as a football player. We talk about him every year like a top 3 guy. Says that, hey, I'd like to get hit less, and I think I pretty much I need a little bit more help on the offensive line. For a guy that never says anything, so all these things start coming out. Oh, is Russell Wilson available? People are off. First of all, let's get that out of the way. Russell Wilson's not fucking available. He's just not. But is Pete Carroll, it shows me like, is Pete Carroll on the hot seat this coming year? Because
before Russell Wilson ever said anything, yes, because we all noticed it. You and I have talked about this, I mean, almost on a weekly basis in every football season. Russell Wilson gets destroyed. He just does. Russell Wilson, through a 16-game season, looks like Patrick Mahomes against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers every single game. Yeah. That is what happens in Seattle. Once the Legion of Boom broke apart and Earl Thomas left and Cam Chancellor left and Brandon Browner got arrested and once that team started to hit turmoil, they thought that if they had elite talent like DK Metcalf and an elite quarterback like Russell Wilson, the rest doesn't matter. Russell Wilson is getting older. Russell Wilson does not want to get sacked 38, 41, 45 times a year. That's a lot of times to be planted on your ass. That's 7 times a game. So I believe that Pete Carroll has 5 games this year. If they are sub 500, Pete Carroll gets fired midway through the year. If they're over 500, he'll make it to the end of the season. And if they underachieve, I think this is Pete Carroll's last year in Seattle.
Yeah, and it's almost like Russ's intention, because you know that this conversation, and this is the first I've heard this on radio shows, but I've been thinking this privately ever since this came out. The first thing I thought was like, well, obviously this guy who's never said anything has had these conversations privately, and they haven't gone. I mean, think about what do they have? One left tackle that they signed in the past 5 years to try to shore up a line, but outside of that, they haven't really drafted, hit any big free agents on the offensive line, and they have so much talent. Chris Carson's a good running back, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, so there's talent on the team in the skill positions. One of the complaints you hear on the Pete Carroll side of the ball is like, well, he has a little bit of that Wentz thing where he just holds on to the ball a little bit too long and is always trying to make the big play, but he's brought that franchise to such a high level and done it so consistently, which Wentz hasn't done. So you can't really, it's kind of unfair to compare the two in the way that they play. But Russell Wilson's obviously had this conversation privately with the coach, with the GM, with the owner. And because they haven't done it, he's now on radio shows trying to force the hand because he's like, I'm 30 years old. I have a couple more years to win. I have a couple more years in my prime. I need some protection, guys.
Yeah, and he's just it's just like Aaron Rodgers, bro. Like, this is what separates the Tom Brady, right? And this is why he's unique. No matter the coach, like we all agree, Bruce Arians is a fucking god-awful coach. He's terrible. Pete Carroll's not a very good coach. Everybody remembers the play call that lost them a Super Bowl against the Patriots. That Matt LaFleur is a terrible fucking coach. He showed you this year.
He's a good offensive coach.
Go back. So what? It doesn't do. If you make the wrong decision as a head coach, Andy Reid is part of most of the reason why Kansas City just lost the Super Bowl. That's the facts. Russell Wilson, for the most part, overcomes the deficiencies of Pete Carroll. And I think that this is him now finally coming out and saying, I don't want to fucking do it anymore. I don't want to run around 300 yards a game in the backfield trying to escape a pass rush and make crazy throws. I want to have an offensive line that matters. And I don't think he's available. I think that's stupid. But speaking of available quarterbacks, I want to throw one your way. If I asked you, would you give Carson Wentz and your second-round draft pick of Philadelphia for Derek Carr and the Las Vegas Raiders second-round pick? Second-round swaps straight up for Derek Carr for Carson Wentz. Would you do it?
No, because it doesn't solve the issue. The issue is, like, who's my future franchise quarterback? If I thought Derek Carr. If I thought Derek Carr was going to be a guy that could go out there and help me win a Super Bowl in the next, 5 years during a contract, then I would say, yeah, but I don't think the talent level of Derek Carr and the leadership of Derek Carr is on some level that's so much higher than Carson Wentz that I'm going to put Jalen Hurts, and sit him down on the bench for a couple years and let Derek Carr try to win me some playoff games in a Super Bowl. If you're moving on, you're either getting the star guy that's going to lead you to a Super Bowl or you're rebuilding. I'm not interested in 8-8 seasons or even 10-6 in first round exit seasons. And I think for the most part, I like Derek Carr as a quarterback, but I don't think he gives me like an opportunity really to win a Super Bowl, especially with this roster. So I don't think it does anything.
Is Derek Carr better than Carson Wentz? Yes or no?
Yes.
No.
Thank you. I appreciate that at least somebody answered.
By a lot, right? At least this version of Carson Wentz.
By a lot.
If you want to talk about just 2020.
Well, that's what we have to talk about, Aaron. We have to talk about what we have now, not what used to be. So
I'll tell you what, it wasn't as good before 2020.
There's hypothetically 31 quarterbacks in the league that are better than Carson Wentz.
No. I'm not talking about Pro Football Focus, motherfucker. I don't care.
I'm not either. He had the worst season in the NFL last year.
But look at 18, 19 to 20. It was not really good, getting worse, and really fucking bad. He is on a downslide. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
So Derek Carr is better than Carson Wentz. I know you didn't say it, but I'm going to say we all agree because I don't want to leave you out on this island alone. Is Derek Carr better than Jalen Hurts right now?
Yes.
Yes. So Derek Carr is an upgrade. So if it only costs you a second-round swap where you're going down, 6 spots, 7 spots in the second round to get a known better commodity, when you can send him to an organization with Mike Mayock, who was fucking head over heels in love with Carson Wentz.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you.
Was the reason why he got drafted second overall, and then John Gruden fucking pouring out his love for Carson Wentz on draft night about how great of a player this kid's going to be and blah, blah, blah. That's the team that I think nobody's mentioning that is fucking imperative to these talks right now.
So you don't think that Wentz is better than Carr, but you think that Gruden and Mayock think that Wentz is better than Carr?
Well, no. I think Gruden
Why would they do that?
I think Gruden and Mayock think that the final result product out of Carson Wentz in their system is better than Derek Carr. I think they feel like they have reached the top of what they can provide to Derek Carr. It does not mean Derek Carr doesn't have more basic ability and isn't just a better plug-in player. But they believe that with their system, their ideas, Carson Wentz will be 2017 Carson Wentz again. They believe that that's in him.
Yeah.
If Carr was on the Eagles this past year, they would have won the East. No doubt about it. They might not have been good, but they would have won the East.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine which quarterbacks could have, with the amount of injuries they had and the offensive line shuffles and the skill guys going down and the defense not being great.
If Deshaun Watson was on this team, do we win more than 4 games?
I don't think so.
No, I do.
Can we move on?
I don't think that Deshaun Watson was going to make a huge – or Deshaun – oh, you said Deshaun Watson or Jackson?
Watson.
Oh, yeah.
You're talking about quarterbacks.
Yeah,
what the fuck do you mean? Okay.
He was injured. I said injured skill guys. So.
Deshaun Watson, we win more games. If Phillip Rivers plays for this team, do we win more games?
No, because he can't move and we had a bad O-line.
Of course we do. Of course we win more because he's better quarterback.
I don't know. You're right. Phillip Rivers can't move. Like, he's a statue.
If we had Josh Allen, better year?
Yeah, of course.
Right. If we had
Taylor Heineke?
If we had Kirk Cousins, better year?
No, absolutely not.
I disagree.
That guy's face.
I think Kirk Cousins is 2 steps above Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is a broken quarterback.
Kirk Cousins had all the talent in the world at receiver and running back, and they still didn't make the playoffs.
We're getting silly now.
No, I'm telling you. That's how bad Carson is in this system.
So speaking of which, two more things on Carson Wentz I want to talk about. First, John Clark reported yesterday that it looks like Ertz is about to be on the move, and there's a possibility that he could be included in a trade package with Carson Wentz so the Eagles can get a better return in the deal. I like that package personally. I think if I'm another team, that gives me the best of both worlds because I'm bringing over the one guy that Carson Wentz trusts his life with. And trying to get the most out of him. They have a great relationship. He's not a top 3 tight end anymore, but he could still probably in the right system be a top 5 or 6 tight end.
I don't think Carson Wentz throwing him the ball, but that's all right.
Well, Carson Wentz has kind of peaked his numbers a little bit with how much he targets them anyway, so I think he wants to go that direction.
So does Zach Ertz make it mean that this Indianapolis Colts pick now involves a 1?
That's what they're trying to get, right? I mean, they're not going to pull the string on 2 2s. And let's talk about the trade packages, by the way, because there's no way that the Bears could have offered a first-round pick along with other things if the Colts offered 2 seconds and they didn't pull the trigger on the Bears first. Did the Bears really offer a first and players?
Oh, I believe the package from the Bears is 100% correct, but I think that this franchise is trying to help Carson because I think they're hoping that he helps negotiate financial relief for them. So I think they want him to end up in the position he wants to be. If they didn't give a shit about what happened to Carson Wentz, he would be a Chicago Bear right now. I believe that. You can't turn down the 20th overall pick for the 31st overall rated quarterback last year. You can't do that. You have to take that package. I think they're trying to figure out between Zach Ertz, what do you have now? 3 young offensive linemen where you have no fucking clue what you've got in any of them. You got Dillard, who knows what the fuck he is. Mailata looked really good, but how's he going to come back? The kid that they drafted last year from Auburn, Jack Driscoll. You have a million guys right now where you can offer some offensive line depth also. Now, Indianapolis's offensive line was really fucking good last year.
Yeah.
But everybody needs depth, bro. They're 1 injury away from losing 3 more games. So is Howie Roseman on the horn with Jim Irsay and whoever else is over there and Frank Reich trying to find out a package that amounts to a first-round pick? Because they want to put Carson in the best position they can. Now, if it was me, I say fuck that guy. Tell him to take his fucking rifles and his fucking certain Confederate flag underpants and move your ass to Chicago, freeze to death in a city nobody gives a fuck about. You're going to die bad. You're never going to get good again because that system's terrible. That's what I want to do. But I'm a spiteful Eagles fan who hates the fact that my fucking franchise is starting over 5 years after drafting a quarterback 2nd overall. It bothers the shit out of me.
It's
welcome
happened,
to my world.
It's happened in the worst way. It's happened in the worst way to a lot of franchises. Speaking of bad franchises, is a Matt Stafford type of packet. It's got to be completely off the table. They don't. So we had this conversation, and you're like, of course you'd want Wentz over Stafford, and I think most of the NFL completely disagrees with you.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong.
I want Stafford over Wentz.
Hold on a minute. Before we get too far off this fucking Stafford and Wentz comparison, it depends on the team that you're talking about. The Los Angeles Rams wanted Stafford over Goff and over Wentz and over a younger quarterback that needed improvement because they believe that roster is a win a Super Bowl next year roster.
It is.
There's only 2 or 3 of those type of teams in the league right now that are looking for quarterbacks. The rest of them need more work. So if Las Vegas decides that they are moving on from Derek Carr, would you rather 33-year-old Matt Stafford, who's going to waste away the next 4 years while you build your team, and you're going to need to find a quarterback at the end anyway? Or would you rather 27-year-old Carson Wentz? Most of the league that is looking for a quarterback is not in win-now mode. If you are not in win-now mode, you do not pick a 33-year-old quarterback that might have 3 years left. That is my point in the comparison. Most teams are in rebuild mode.
If
you're in rebuild mode, you go younger.
It's a phenomenal point, but how many teams that have a Super Bowl roster don't have a Super Bowl quarterback? There's like 2 or 3. It's not like
the Indianapolis Colts, right? The Los Angeles Rams, who just got Matt Stafford, and we don't know if he's a Super Bowl caliber quarterback.
Right.
When healthy, the San Francisco 49ers have an absolutely stout lineup. No franchise quarterback, right?
Yeah, because the rest of the teams that think they can win a Super Bowl next year think they can win a Super Bowl because they have the quarterback to win the Super Bowl.
Right, so all the rest of the teams that are looking for quarterbacks, which there's 6 or 10 this year, depending on your opinion of who's moving, only 2 or 3 of those teams are in win-now mode. You've got 5 to 7 teams that are in, we are rebuilding. We think we're a win now in 2 or 3 seasons. We're not win now right now. So if you have 33-year-old Matt Stafford versus 28-year-old Carson Wentz, you know that 5-year age gap, by the time you reach that age of Matt Stafford, your roster should be more than filled out, and then you're entering into that second wind of the prime of that quarterback. It makes more sense for a rebuilding team to take the younger quarterback. Yeah. Why isn't Jacksonville going to get the known commodity of Deshaun Watson? They know, everybody and their brother knows Deshaun Watson's real. It's pretty simple, right? It's a trade Houston would accept in a fucking heartbeat to get Trevor Lawrence first overall. So why are they going the kid? Because they have 1,000 holes across that roster. And by the time that team's complete, Deshaun Watson's going to be 30 years old. And then what? Now we're already in the phase of 2-3 years from now, we're looking for a quarterback. So when it comes to teams like LA, Matt Stafford got traded and not Carson Wentz for that reason. They're ready now. So San Francisco's off the table. LA's obviously off the table because they need to move.
The point still stands. The Stafford package then is unrealistic because Wentz has to go to a team that has to rebuild anyway, and they need those picks and those players.
So and also, what you're forgetting, this point is moot because that 5 years from now, when they're ready to contend, they still don't have a Super Bowl quarterback. They have Wentz.
Yeah, but we don't.
You hope
know
you can get them there. I get that.
This is the thing. This is why we're talking about the reason why the focus is on Chicago and Indianapolis is why. Because John DeFilippo's in Chicago and Frank Reich is in Indianapolis. They're the 2 guys that got through to Carson Wentz as an NFL quarterback. Everybody forgets that if he does not tear his ACL in LA, he's more than likely the MVP that year. And it was earned. He had the numbers. He had the statistics. If you go to one of those guys, your assumption is no matter what they give up, Carson Wentz is going to reach where he was. That's the assumption. If you go off to another team like Oakland, like Las Vegas, where it's Mike Mayock and John Gruden who just love the guy, they don't have a proven track record. So it's harder to get more out of those guys. I think it's the reason why Chicago is paying more. Because Chicago knows that John DeFilippo is just the passing game coordinator and the quarterback coach.
But DeFilippo was still there for a season after Reich left, and that wasn't a great season for Wentz either.
I don't disagree with you, which is, again, why I say they want to get him to Frank Reich. That's what the Eagles organization wants because they're loyal to a fault to their players. One name, Jason Peters. They just fucking care too much about their players. They don't listen to their fan base who doesn't give a shit about these people when they don't do anything for us. Carson Wentz has spent this entire offseason quiet as a fucking church mouse. Why? Why hasn't he come out and said anything? Anything at all?
It doesn't help or hurt his – it only hurts his cause.
He's fucking weak. It's because he's a weak-minded little baby.
It doesn't help him to say anything.
Dude, Deshaun Watson tweeted a trade request and then spoke about it publicly. You are a weak, soft-ass little bitch if your trade request has to go through.
Let's talk real quick about Deshaun Watson because I am someone who, for the most part, I like the way the NBA works. I like that the players have the power that they do. It's their careers. The owners and all them make so much money anyway. I think the players should be able to dictate a little more. And I know you sign contracts, but at the end of the day, the players have a life and they have their happiness to look after. But it's very hard for me to sit here and defend a guy that knew what was going on in the building and knew how bad of a place Houston was, sign a contract in September, and then request a trade 3 months later. Now, I do understand, secure the bag, bud, because this is going to set you up and you're going to be wealthy for the rest of your life, so secure the bag. But tell me how you sign a contract in September.
This is so simple. In September, when your contract came up, and I said to you, Aaron, we're going to rebuild this coaching staff and this management staff, and you're going to be a part of it. Just sign this contract with us. And you sign the contract. And then when the time comes to look for said coaching and management staff, I freeze you out and don't let you in on it like I said I would. Then you're going to ask to get the fuck out.
Well, when he signed, they had a head coach.
Right.
So you're talking about rebuilding a coaching staff when they already had a coach in place at the time.
Did any of us think that the Houston front office and coaching staff, anybody would make it through to next season?
No.
No, nobody, right?
They traded DeAndre Hopkins, but that was still before he signed that contract.
Right. So he was given the keys to the kingdom. He's the franchise quarterback. He was told by that owner, he said it pretty much himself. So has the owner and the ownership group. They told him he'd have a part, he would be involved, and they moved without letting him be involved. That's what his beef is.
Yeah. My point is he he has known for years how they operate.
Not if they've been telling him that he'll be involved. If everything that he has seen is pointing towards, I'll be a part of building this franchise, and then when the moment comes to be a part and they don't let you, then you change your tune. That's what happened.
It doesn't make sense either because they paid him $500 million to be a part of it. So,
well, dude, imagine if Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes' relationship broke down overnight. That's what you're looking at. You're giving up. I would say Justin's own opinion of young quarterbacks, the second best young quarterback behind Patrick Mahomes. I think that's Deshaun Watson. And how do you risk it, right? Not only how have you fucked it up, how do you even make a decision that would risk messing that up?
Yeah.
That is what blows my mind. The Eagles have mishandled Carson Wentz. There's no question about that. But Carson Wentz has never been Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes. Fuck, Carson Wentz wasn't even Lamar Jackson.
For a couple of years, we were arguing that Carson Wentz was better than Deshaun Watson. We didn't know that we didn't know that one could still perform with a horrible team and one shit the bed and fucking curled up under the covers with a horrible
bro, at work yesterday talking about quarterbacks, I had a whole argument about Phillip Rivers being a Hall of Famer yesterday. And Luke, Luke, our friend Luke works with me. Luke says to me, he's like, bro, I never realized this. Deshaun Watson's numbers last year were crazy. I said, if his team won more than fucking 4 games, he's probably the MVP.
I think in week 10, we were doing a live, and I didn't realize how good he was playing because they were like fucking 2-8. And I was like, man, if they were even 500 right now, we would be talking about he's a top 2 candidate.
He's an unbelievable player.
Yeah, and there were some breakdowns at the end of games, so people kind of hung their hat. Well, in the game against the Colts, he fumbled the snap and they lost the game. It's like, he was the only reason they drove down the field and had a chance to win that game against the top 3 defense in the league. I mean, he was about to put up 27 points on them.
Now, before I pivot with you to the NBA, I have to ask you, we got to talk about this.
Yeah.
Is Phillip Rivers a Hall of Famer?
No.
Why?
For the same reason that you believe that Donovan McNabb is not.
I knew you were going to go here. Hey, Bud, let me ask you a quick question.
Never even got to an AFC championship.
Let me ask you a real quick question. How many touchdown passes does Donovan McNabb have in his career?
I don't know.
Take a guess.
I don't have it in front of me.
Probably like
in the 200s, in the 300s, in the 400s, where?
I'm guessing like 250. 250-ish.
Yeah, 250, something like that. Because over 12 seasons, 20 to 30.
I will pull this up if you need me to be specific, but I think it's 241 is the exact number. Okay. How many touchdown passes does Phillip Rivers have?
Probably 400.
421. Now here's the big one. How many passing yards does Donovan McNabb have?
I mean, Philip Rivers has way more.
37,000. How many does Philip Rivers have? 67,000. So now listen to me. I will listen to any argument.
McNabb has 234 touchdown passes.
Thank you. I will listen to any argument you have that holds Philip Rivers out of the Hall of Fame, but I will never let you desecrate Philip Rivers' name with that fucking bum-ass Donovan McNabb. With the chokingest choker in the history of fucking big games, with opportunity after opportunity to overcome and could never fucking do it. When Philip Rivers played for 17 years and never had a real defense, never had a number one receiver until Keenan Allen 5 years ago. He won more, did better, accomplished more with far less than dumbass Donovan.
He had the best running back in the league for 5 seasons in LaDainian Tomlinson.
5 out of 17, dog. How about the other 12?
Hold on. McNabb never had anybody like that.
Hold on. What are you talking about?
Let me finish. And he had Antonio Gates, who was the best tight end in the game for about 10 years.
Jeff, you have been a Washington football team fan your whole life. So let me ask you a quick question. When I go back to my childhood, 15, 20 years ago, right? Like the Heat, the middle of the Andy Reid era, Brian Dawkins leading the defense. Philadelphia never had wide receivers, right? Todd Pinkston, James Thrash. Didn't we always have a pretty decent tight end? Not a great one. But
talking about Chad Lewis? Is that who we're talking about?
Pretty decent. Not George Kittle level, but pretty decent, right? Now, how about this?
Talking about Antonio Gates.
How about this though? How about a top 5 offensive line for every year he played in Philadelphia? How about a top 5 defense for every year he played in Philadelphia?
And that's why he got the 5 NFC championship games.
Only one season that Philip Rivers had a top 5 O-line or a top 5 defense in San Diego. Don't waste your time because you can't. Because he didn't. And he won 14 games with LaDainian Tomlinson.
You're telling me it takes a team to win a game.
I'm telling you that Donovan McNabb was given multiple chances to just reach out and grab it. And every single time, this blind motherfucker missed. And you cannot use
right now, though, bro, you're making the argument that it's better to not get there than it is to get there.
Not at all. I am looking at the product. I'm not talking about what ifs. The Hall of Fame is not about what could be. The Hall of Fame about what was. That's what the Hall of Fame is about. So what was Donovan was given 5 opportunities at a Super Bowl. He only won 1. And in the 1 Super Bowl, he had every opportunity to win that game. A wide receiver playing on a broken fucking foot that went for over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. And given the opportunity to overcome, never could. I watched Philip Rivers for 15 years in San Diego win more games than he should have, pass for more yards than he should have, 64% career completion percentage, more touchdowns, better quarterback rating, better records with worse teams, with no defense.
Okay, so I watched Philip Rivers lose 5 times in the divisional round, and I watched Donovan McNabb lose 4 times in an NFC championship and once in a Super Bowl. So I can make the argument. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's my opinion. But I'm not going to sit here.
Donovan, who has half the statistics, against the guy that's got double. That would be like saying fucking.
Well, how many yards did Donovan McNabb run for? How many rushing touchdowns did Donovan McNabb? What was the passer rating?
I don't know. The passer rating was worse.
The gap a little bit because he did more.
The passer rating was worse. The completion percentage was worse. The touchdowns are worse. The interceptions are worse. Interception to touchdown ratio. All those things are worse. Donovan McNabb was a better athlete.
I can't make a case for you can say what you want about McNabb. We can disagree. I can't make a case for Philip Rivers.
Donovan as the case study for Philip Rivers. It's
like putting it aside.
This is interesting. Real quick, Donovan McNabb, 59% career completion percentage. Philip Rivers, 64.
Yeah, Philip Rivers is significantly better than Donovan.
Passer, yeah.
So again,
think about it. It's very similar to the Marino argument. You know, for the longest time before Brady, before the quarterback boom, if you will, most people, most football guys considered Dan Marino the greatest quarterback of all time who never won a Super Bowl. But they considered him a better player than even Joe Montana.
And
Joe Montana,
gets on those numbers.
So it's an interesting debate for sure.
So
But
listen, you and I could go on for fucking months about Donovan. I know that you grew up in Cherry Hill, and all you soft ass over the bridge motherfuckers love Donovan McNabb and Andy Reid so much. I'm from the cold hard side, motherfucker. It snows more here. I can't. Donovan McNabb is not a Hall of Famer for 1,000 reasons. We could spend a day live, 24 straight hours, of why he's not. My point to you right now is you cannot use Donovan not getting in as a reason to justify Phillip Rivers. Show me a guy not in the Hall of Fame with Phillip Rivers numbers. They don't exist.
I know the
They don't exist.
McNabb is a direct result of one of the greatest coaches in NFL history, Andy Reid.
So much.
I agree.
Phillip Rivers drug his teams with him.
Bro, Aaron,
Norv Turner's horrible.
The worst head coach. Norv Turner was such a good coordinator and the shittiest head coach of all fucking time. The worst. And Phillip Rivers won 14, 12, and 11.
He plays offense. So that would make sense.
Well, Norv Turner isn't the worst coach of all time. He's just the Magoo of coaching. He's there. He's there.
Let's take a quick break, and we will get into some basketball, Sixers talk, how the East is shaping up, and Joel still making his.
Go take a break. I'm going to talk to my boy Jeff.
Talk it out.
Yeah.
Fucking loon. So, Jeffrey, I got to ask you. I have been hearing Washington football team tied to a gamut of quarterbacks.
All of them.
But here's
every quarterback in the league they're tied to.
Of who is available, and I'm going to take Carson Wentz out of this because I'm going to ask you a best and a worst, and I know that.
Listen, let me because I had a thought about Carson Wentz. If any team gives a first-round pick for that motherfucker on the downslide, they should not be an NFL football team anymore. They should be kicked out of the league forever.
So
it's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard of.
So let's take Carson Wentz's name out of the quarterbacks available. Who is your most preferred? And you're like, if you could choose, who is it? And if there is a not him, anybody but Carson, but not that guy, who is it?
Oh, I see. Okay, so I am a big fan of being conservative here because one of the points that you guys both made without even making it or mentioning it was how hard it is to build a team when you're paying a quarterback $40 million a year, right? There's just not enough cap room. So now we're seeing a reduction in the cap. Do you really want to take on Russell Wilson's contract? Do you really want to take on Deshaun Watson's contract? Yes, they're going to make your team better, but you also have to give up, 3 or 4 first-round picks. Like you can't put the pieces around them later on. I love if Washington goes after and gets Mariota for like a 3rd or a 4th round pick and maybe a player. I love it. I love the deal.
So
Mariota has upside. He's an improvement over what they have, and they don't have to sacrifice the defense or future first-round picks, and they can keep on building around him until they can find another, perhaps project that they can mold into one of their own. I really like Taylor Heineke. I think he showed a lot of guts. I don't think he's, at this point he's gonna. But man, that guy played his heart out.
So let me ask you this:
every single play, like I love guys like that.
Where's Washington drafting this year? Like 19 to 22, somewhere in there, aren't they? Where are they?
Yeah, they're at they would be at the top end of the teams that made the playoffs. So
Mac Jones.
I was gonna say if Mac Jones is available,
that's
an
interesting
component of them drafting Mac Jones.
If they can't land an upgrade over what they have now, Kyle Allen and Taylor Heineke, I absolutely draft Mac Jones and let all 3 of them try to battle it out.
So I am a proponent of, which I'm sure Aaron probably
or if they have him, depending on where they're hearing he's rated, trade back if he's still going to be available in the early 2nd round
and pick up another player in a later round. So
pick up another pick somewhere.
I am a huge proponent. If you do find a way to offload Carson Wentz before the draft and you get a 1st round pick, say it's 20 from Chicago, I am a huge proponent. If Justin Fields is on the board at number 6, I want the Eagles to draft him. I want a true open competition between 2 guys, one who is a more natural passer in Justin Fields, and then the little bit superior athlete in Jalen Hurts. Battle it out, find out who wins, and you've got a Jimmy Garoppolo to get you a second-round pick midway through the season when somebody's quarterback goes down. That's what I want the Eagles to do if they acquire another first-round pick. And
you're not helping. You're not helping any of your quarterbacks.
We're a bad team, Aaron. It's going to take years, bro.
You're not helping any of your quarterbacks by drafting.
I don't give a fuck about helping the quarterbacks. I care about making this team the best I can make it. If Justin Fields has fucking Aaron Rodgers upside,
he's gonna be there.
I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you. I think that there is going to be a ton of movement in the 3, 4, 5 range before we pick at 6. And I think we might be involved with more than one of those rumors. But I don't know that he is. My point to you is Jalen Hurts' highest ceiling is a poor man's Russell Wilson. That's what he is. That's why he went where he went at 54 last year. If you have the ability to get Justin Fields and you've got another first-round draft pick, you bring Justin Fields in, who a lot of teams are in love with. You let him battle it out. We're going to have a real training camp this year. We're going to have OTAs. We're going to have preseason games. We're going to have that this season. It's back to normal. Let those two motherfuckers go out there, battle it out, and then you've got a guy week 7 when fucking San Francisco's quarterback gets hurt again and they have a win-now roster. You might yank a first-round pick from that team for one of those two guys if they're good enough. So I'm a huge proponent. There's no such thing when you don't know who your quarterback is, which the Eagles don't right now. There's no such thing as too many quarterbacks. You need to have competition that pushes each other. Fuck Nick Foles. Nick Foles ain't making Jalen Hurts any better. He's going to affect him the opposite way. So I'm a huge proponent for bringing in a better younger guy. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, I don't think any. Go ahead.
Also, you have you have the two theories. Like, do you draft for need or do you draft? You take the best player on the board. I think that the teams that have been successful consistently take the best player on the board. If you have 8 first-round quarterbacks, you have 8 fourth-round quarterbacks. There's always teams looking for them. Like Justin said, you can go recoup those draft picks later on if you don't mind pushing off that potential championship to the next year.
Look at what New England pulled off with Jacoby Brissett and Jimmy Garoppolo. That is what you can have if he's there. Now, again, this only works if you get another first-round pick. You need either a skill position or defensive lineman or
Here's
defensive
the thing with that, just they knew who their quarterback was. It was Tom Brady. So those guys were backups filling in roles. They weren't competing. They were competing for a backup job and for a contract.
I'm not trying to compare how they acquired the guys. I'm trying to compare the situation after we knew who the guy was. Once we knew who those guys were that they could play, what happened thereafter? Our situation of acquisition is different, but the end product will result the same. You'll have a quarterback that people want.
Also, let's not forget, who was the guy early on in Brady's career that was backing him up that ended up getting a starting job in KC for a while? Matt Castle for a while. They got a pick for him too. But just to push back on you a little bit, Aaron, Jimmy Garoppolo was drafted to succeed Tom Brady.
Correct.
Yeah. So there was a point to drafting him, and Brady didn't like it. And he said, "I'm playing until I'm 60 years old. Get him the fuck out of here."
I think that when they drafted him, they weren't aware that they were going to fall in love with them the way that they did once he started a couple games and won a couple games. So I know they drafted him. They were trying to groom a backup. Maybe someone could take over for Brady eventually. And then all of a sudden he comes in, he wins a couple games. Right. And now there's a little bit of a controversy because Brady's 37 years old and Garoppolo's 23 and Brady doesn't want him there. So that still played into this situation a little bit. They weren't Garoppolo is going to take over the next couple of years, but when they saw him play, they're like, oh, maybe it's time to move Brady.
Aaron, if Justin Fields comes, if I have a crystal ball and I say they draft Justin Fields at 6 and he's better for the team than Jalen Hurts, would you be okay with making that pick knowing it's going to turn out?
Well, is he better for the team than Jalen Hurts, or is he going to be an all-pro? I mean, that's the question, right? Because Jalen Hurts, let's put the Saints game aside.
Franchise quarterback. He's your future franchise quarterback. He's your Deshaun.
Your future franchise quarterback. You take the future franchise quarterback.
So why would you not take the risk of upsetting a fucking second round quarterback to potentially hit on that guy and not have to give up assets? Bro, 4 months ago, we would have had to trade up to the second pick to get Justin Fields.
Yeah.
If you still believe like I do that that's the guy, I'm going to say it now. We did it on social media. For anybody that didn't hear it or see it, I'm telling everybody and their brothers and their cousins and their sisters and their mothers, Trevor Lawrence is Matt Leinart, guys. Trevor Lawrence is going to have one of the greatest college resumes in the history of time. He's going to go to Jacksonville, and he's going to die like every other quarterback does in Jacksonville. Anyhow, if Justin Fields is your guy, like he's still my guy, you take him at 6. It is a fucking no-brainer. It's a 9 thought. Unless you are getting like 2 first-round draft picks in the future to give that 6th pick up to get Justin Fields elsewhere, you take Justin Fields. That's what you do.
Yeah.
We know Devonta Smith's not going to be there, right? We agree there. I don't think he goes past Miami at 3. I think Devonta Smith is going at 3.
Projections are saying that he might, but I don't think so. No, I think because he's probably it's just a matter of who you think is going to go off the board first. It's going to be Smith or Chase. The Eagles are, yeah. I mean, it's going to be Smith probably, right? But
he's the new prototype, right? He's like the Tyreek Hill guy. He's the new prototype of holy shitballs receiver.
Every board still has the Eagles taking Chase because it looks like he's going to be there.
And again, honestly, if I was in the war room and it was up to me, I've been saying for weeks, bro, Jamar Chase is your guy. Get Jamar Chase before
it's hard. I know the upside of Devontae Smith, but I don't want to see a career like Deshaun Jackson where like you have to be available.
I already have Jalen Reagor. I don't need the speed guy. Yeah.
It just reminds me so much of Deshaun, like a better route runner than Deshaun Jackson type of player. But
exactly.
I'm not interested. I'm not interested in someone being out for 4 games a year.
I'm 100% with you. And his game you already have on a rookie contract on the active roster. That is what Jalen Reagor does. You already have that guy. Quez Watkins, you already have that guy. John Hightower to an extent. You have 3 of those guys. You need the Jamar Chase. But at 6, if I'm in the Eagles war room and 6 comes up and Justin Fields and Jamar Chase is available, I'm having a fucking dilemma.
What are the reactions on Philly sports radio if they go QB at 6, by the way?
So I think there's a couple of ways this could go. If Devonta Smith and Jamar Chase are off the board and Justin Fields is the best player available, clear and away, and everybody agrees, right? I think they get heat, but everybody understands it. If you've got Devonta Smith or Jamar Chase on the board, or God forbid, Devonta Smith, Jamar Chase, and Micah Parsons, and Patrick Surtain.
Parsons is projected like 15 to 20.
If you've got all of those guys available and they take Justin Fields, they're going to burn down buildings. It's not going to be fucking pretty.
Real quick, just to reiterate this, there's a lot of free agent quarterbacks. I'm not sure. There might be a lot of teams just that are actually waiting to see how the situation plays out with Dak and Dallas as well, because they're trying to sign him. They're trying to sign him to a franchise tag. He got injured on the franchise tag. You can't afford to go into the season he's going to sit out. You can't afford to sign a franchise tag on a 1-year deal. One injury is okay. It doesn't hurt your market value. You get hurt again on the franchise tag, that next contract is fucking on the floor. So they have a decision. They have to either pay the guy or he's probably going to sit out this year.
Dakota's going to get a 1-year, $32.5 million fully guaranteed contract to come back to Dallas. That's what I believe.
His agent's going to tell him not to play after what happened last year.
No,
his injury was debilitating. It could take him a year or 2 to really get back to form, which would kill his value.
I think he's going to get out. The problem now is that the Cowboys, if they commit long term, want an ascending contract. They want to go 25, 30, 35, 38. Dak wants to get paid now. I don't blame him. He just got fucking hurt. A terrible injury he suffered. I think Dak's going to take a high money 1-year deal to come back to Dallas with the receivers they have.
He doesn't have a choice to take it. That's the point I'm trying to make. Franchise.
First of all, I don't believe they're going to waste the franchise tag. There's other players that they need. I don't know that they wasted on Dak. It's whether now, if you're Jerry Jones and you know Dak wants $40 million, if I'm Jerry Jones this season, give him 1 year and guarantee him $40 million. Write him a check for $40 million. You're this season, you have your money, prove it to me and I'll give you 5 more. That's what I do if I'm Dallas, because if Dallas loses Dak Prescott and God forbid goes to Ron Rivera in Washington, goes to any one of these teams that is a quarterback away from being really good, Dallas is going to look really bad for a long time.
The only way they're going to keep him is if they franchise him, because he wants more money than they're going to pay him on a contract. if he gets a tag this year, he's not going back to Dallas after this year. I guarantee it.
No, it'll be a Kirk Cousins 2.0.
Yeah, they're going to lose him. They're going to lose him if
I
they
agree.
Couple other free agent quarterbacks real quick. So you do have Cam Newton, who I don't think anybody's too interested in at this point.
Although I would have liked to see Cam Newton in an offense that had a receiver or two.
Why? He can't throw the
Yeah,
football.
I mean, there's something that can be said before touchdowns doesn't make me think that a couple more players is gonna really boost his numbers too much.
Watching him throw football is like watching old people fuck. It's the worst thing in the world.
So Jameis Winston's probably going to sign with the Saints, depending on what they do with Taysom Hill. Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to be out of Miami. Trubisky's probably going to be out of Chicago. Tyrod Taylor's available.
I like Ryan Fitzpatrick to Philadelphia backing up Jalen Hurts on a cheap deal if they don't draft a quarterback.
Yeah, that's not a bad signing either. So those guys are available. Let's pivot to the Sixers and finish up with them.
Wait a minute. Tua still sucks. Now you can pivot. Let's go.
Let's pivot to the Sixers. So back-to-back losses. Maybe not the first time this season, but they lost to Portland the other night. They lost to the Suns with their starting lineup. I think Portland was their starting lineup as well, and they're missing CJ as well. Have you watched these last two games, Just?
I have.
What happened?
I have diagnosed exactly what their problem is.
Go ahead.
Bench scoring. They have the most inconsistent bench scoring around.
Shake
now,
was out.
I know Shake's missed some games, and that hurts him because Shake's worth 15 to 18 most nights. But look at Portland, bro. 2 games you've lost in 8 days to Portland if we go back a little while. 2 games in 8 days, both of which Carmelo Anthony scores more than 25 off the bench. That's not who Melo is, but that's who he was against us. You go to Phoenix. Their bench was outscored, I think, by 21 or 22 points.
Phoenix bench played unbelievable.
And again, this just happens to Philadelphia sports, and maybe it happens everywhere, but we only notice it here because it's us. Dario Saric burned us. Like, guys that knew this team, and it was personal, and that happened. Now, Joe got his last night, and there was things to be positive of. Danny Green is not what I hoped Danny Green would be. I don't count Danny Green in the long-term plans here. I mean, Danny Green's position in the starting lineup is really where you insert Zach LaVine or Bradley Beal if you were to able to pull that trade off. But Danny Green defensively, it's not enough for me with how little offensive output he gives, especially when your bench isn't scoring. And they have no depth in scoring on the bench. I see all these rumors about Bielitsa from LA, which is intriguing from the Kings from Sacramento. A true stretch 4. He can shoot the ball well. He's having an off year, but apparently there's some personal shit with the coaching staff out there. They don't need a stretch 4 coming off the bench, dude. They need scoring. And I don't know if it's Ty Maxey's not being given the right direction to go out there and just get a bucket because that's Shake's job. And when Shake's not in there, Ty is trying to be more of a distributor than a go-get-it guy. But they need every single player on that team that has scoring ability to go get it. And they don't have it right now, and there's no punch off that bench.
So the Eastern Conference starting to shape up kind of in the way that we thought before the year. So Philadelphia still holds a game and a half on Milwaukee. Milwaukee is starting to play very well. Brooklyn's third. James Harden is averaging almost 12 assists a game. Then you got Boston, the Pacers. Charlotte Hornets are the 6th seed in the East with a losing record right now. LaMelo Ball is having a great year. I don't think they can stay there.
I know you want to touch tips with LaMelo Ball. I know you love him.
No, I don't think they can stay there.
No. Well, you got Miami, who's coming up.
Yeah.
I think Orlando overall is probably a better team anyway. Once they figure some shit out, there's too much. The top 4 teams are pretty set. The bottom 4 playoff teams are going to play around.
Yeah, the Knicks are in there too, and I don't think they're going to end up there.
I'll tell you what, though, dude. Listen to me, and I mean this. And I never thought, Aaron. I swear to God, on the lives of my children, if you asked me this 6 months ago, I'd have told you were fucking nuts if I said this. The Knicks are going to be a problem in the not too distant future.
They just got Derrick Rose, and they play defense. I mean,
they have the makings for a really fucking solid foundation of really good basketball. As long as they can figure the rest out. Now, it's the New York Knicks. I'm 30 years old. They have fucked up every single year for my entire life. they find a way to fuck it up. But they've got a good core foundation out there that's going to be a problem. So while we're on basketball, I saw this fucking thing while I was getting my Starbucks this morning, scrolling through my Facebook. Kyrie Irving told James Harden he's the point guard. James is the point guard. Kyrie's the shooting guard.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily disagree, but then I thought about this, right? So I separated in the back of my head. If I'm on 2K and I have a team and I put James Harden at my point guard position, Kyrie at my 2, Kevin Durant at my 3, and then I just give an average 4 and 5, which is what they've got, right? I don't like that build. I don't like the idea that my 2 guard, who's my efficient scorer, is still inefficient, just less inefficient. Like James Harden is inefficient, like Allen Iverson kind of inefficient. James Harden's got to take 30 shots in most games, which is why Kyrie's getting the ball now.
He hasn't been doing that though. He's been playing
because Kyrie is the 2, like we just talked about a second ago.
Right.
James Harden, when he is the 2, when he is the primary scorer, he's inefficient. So Houston James Harden is not efficient, right? Allen Iverson's a fucking Hall of Famer, one of the greatest 2 guards of all time. Inefficient. But Kyrie is not efficient, right? I think of efficient. I think of Steph Curry. I think of Klay Thompson. I think of Ray Allen. I think of guys that are efficient. They take a shot, and 1 in every 2 is guaranteed to go down. Efficient. Kyrie's not that efficient, bro, and I'd rather
hold on.
Kevin Durant be my guy.
But Kyrie is one of, I think, 3 players in the league right now in the 50, 40, 90 category. He's been extremely efficient this year. He hasn't had to take on.
But it's not going to.
I think that's accurate because he doesn't have to take on the load unless he's feeling it. There's a lot of guys that can score on the team. He's shooting 53, 41, and 95. Like he's very.
When it comes to the playoffs, and you're playing a team that plays defense, and somebody gets shut down, and you have a close game, when it comes down to the last possession, who gets the ball?
Kevin Durant.
What if Kevin Durant has been shut down all game? And
it still goes to Kevin Durant.
You think Kyrie Irving feels that way?
Yeah, but if Kyrie has the ball and he's having a hot game, so if you've watched the dynamic of the Nets this year, whoever's had the hot hand, they've fed the ball and they've been efficient doing it. They just can't play defense.
Bro, for the last 10 years, I've watched the Houston Rockets play the same way and they've won nothing.
They're not. James Harden's not playing the way that he was playing in Houston, bud.
No, he's a distributor now, but they have Kevin Durant scoring 30 and Kyrie scoring over 25. So all this is basically right now, James Harden is Chris Paul. My point to you is it's the same offense. It's Mike D'Antoni. It's the same team. I watched it happen for 10 years. Mike
D'Antoni's offenses are efficient. His defenses suck.
They don't win when it matters. They don't win.
Yeah. But let's backtrack a bit because I know Mike D'Antoni's had an MVP and Amari Stoudemire, some great offenses. Again, this has nothing to do with how efficient they are on the offensive end, and it's not ever going to have to do with how efficient they are on the offensive end. They have to play some defense if they want to win some playoff games, and that's the bottom line. It doesn't matter who's playing point guard, who's playing shooting guard. You have 3 bona fide all-time, I can put the ball in the bucket guys. So the offense is never going to be a problem. Jeff Green's still there. Joe Harris is still there. They're not going to have an issue scoring. Who's going to play defense? What moves are they going to make at the trade deadline? Who's going to become available? Who's going to want to come play with them next year just because they think they have a shot to win a championship with those guys and come on
in the first round? Nobody.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, though. They're going to finish as a top 3 seed.
Bro, I got to ask you, if they finish at 3 and Miami is full-on healthy, that team we saw last year, Miami, full-on healthy, raring to go, no COVID shit, Jimmy Butler's there, Bam Adebayo's there, you don't think that Miami gives Brooklyn trouble?
One match would give, but those pieces have to fall exactly into place by the time the playoffs come around. And Miami at this point is not
Brooklyn trouble.
Yes.
Right, they're a matchup problem. Basically, every good team in the East, when healthy, is a matchup problem for Brooklyn because their matchup is terrible.
Bam can guard Kevin Durant. Jimmy Butler can guard James Harden. Yeah, of course.
So that is reasonable. That if that were to play out, The Nets might exit in the first round as a top 3 seed. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying it's not impossible.
Again, put it in perspective. If Miami's playing anywhere near that they were last year, they're going to be a tough matchup in the first round for any team in the East. So, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's Milwaukee. It doesn't matter if it's Boston.
I disagree with you. I think that Toronto is a great matchup. I think that Milwaukee is a good matchup because they have nobody to match up with against Giannis. They
whooped Giannis' ass last year.
Who I still say to this day, I don't know that I'll ever leave this hill, honestly. Giannis is the most overrated, overappreciated superstar in major sports.
The media's trying to paint the next LeBron for him.
He's the most overrated, talented shit. He's terrible.
The thing is, you have to remember that last year in the playoffs, Miami took Giannis completely out of his game.
I'm aware, but they still match up. I don't think Miami's got the walk in the park that they did last year. Yeah. I think Miami healthy is a problem again, but also at the same time, you got better coaching in Philadelphia that's going to be able to figure out more against that team. Brad Stevens is not a bad coach. We talked before we went live here. I think that the Celtics are cooked this year. I think that they got to figure out what the fuck they're doing with Tatum. Is he your future superstar? Is it Kemba? Is it Jaylen Brown? Do you think you can make these 3 guys be your big 3? They've got shit to figure out in Boston. But nevertheless, Brad Stevens is a great coach. Brad Stevens saw what Miami did last year. He's great at developing game plans against teams that he's seen. Miami's not going to have the ease that they did. Like, I believe, honestly, that the Lakers are walking to the finals again. I know it doesn't look that way right now when you watch.
Yeah, they'll get it together.
Right, and you're watching Denver play good basketball. You're watching Phoenix play good basketball. Yeah. I'm telling you right now, if the Lakers have a series before the finals that goes more than 5, I'd be shocked. I'd be blown away.
If anybody's gonna give them that series, honestly, Justin, and this is why I'm not taking a ton away from that Sixers loss last night. It's going to be the Phoenix Suns. They're a very deep team.
And listen, man, that Phoenix Suns loss. I do want to mention this before we're done with this topic. That should have been way worse than it was for Philadelphia. Yeah. Phoenix had one of their worst shooting nights of the season. I mean, Michael Bridges was missing far left, right, and center. Like, he was just awful. And if they are a hair more efficient, you lose that game by 25, like you probably should have for how the Sixers played. Because the Sixers also shot horrendous.
I think they shot 60% from the floor.
Who?
Phoenix? Yeah. Yeah, they shot 61% and then 40% from 3. They actually had a pretty good shooting night.
So in the first half, which is what I watched the stats of, I never looked at the stats at the end of the game.
Okay.
It was bad at the end of the first half for both teams. And then Phoenix turned it on, and the Sixers didn't, obviously, by that time.
Yeah. By the way, still nobody in the NBA that can guard Joel Embiid.
Yeah, I listen again. I wanna give me just a second before we go. I got to go find something real quick. I think you posted it. I'm not positive, but I'm almost positive.
Yeah, I did. I know what you're talking about.
When you asked what's wrong with Philly or what happened with Philly, can my answer be that they're from Philly?
That's fucked up, man. That's not nice. I hurt my feelings. All right. So Aaron posted this on Facebook, and I just want to go over it real fast. These are, how many are in here? 1, 2, 3, 4. These are 4 things I'm about to read to everybody. That is 1,000% Joel Embiid is the MVP, and I don't want to hear anybody else's fucking name. Joel Embiid is the 4th player in 76ers history to score 25-plus points in 10 straight games, which is now 11, by the way, because he just did 30 last night. Yeah. Joining Allen Iverson, Wilt Chamberlain, and Charles Barkley. That stat is fucking nuts. Joel Embiid had his 400th career block in his 230th game. Only 2 Sixers ever, Sam Dalembert, Sean Bradley. Fucking nuts, right? Finishes the first half with 23 points. Which I believe he still got a half of 20 plus. I'm not positive, don't quote me, but he had 12, tied with Damian Lillard for the second most 20-point halves in basketball this season. 10th straight game with at least 25 points dating back to January 20th versus Boston. He's got Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Luka Doncic as the only players with 25 plus 10-game streaks. So Joel Embiid is the most dominant player in the NBA right now.
So given the way he's playing, if this is how it plays out consistently throughout the year, I would have to go out and say that if they don't win an NBA championship this year, and I know we talk about that nobody's beating the Lakers, it'll be if they don't get to the finals this year, I would say because of the way he's playing, it's a huge disappointment, and you're probably not getting enough out of Ben Simmons, and you're probably not getting enough out of the bench.
I'm going to tell you right now, if this team gets their shit together. So first of all, Ben Simmons, very quickly about Ben. I've been impressed the last couple of weeks. It looks like somebody must have talked to him. He's gotten more aggressive. He's gotten more consistent. His free throw shooting's not atrocious. He looks like a different player the last couple of weeks. Since the rumors of him and James Harden and that shit happened, he looks like a different player. If that Ben Simmons stays, if Tobias Harris is consistent, if Joel Embiid is healthy and the same player we see right now, and if the bench is healthy, Shake, everybody is healthy, I believe that the 76ers are a better fit team to go against LA than anybody in the league, and I think they match up against the Lakers better. I think they have a little bit more depth than LA does. I think you have Ben to hold down LeBron, and as long as Ben stays aggressive, they will minus each other out. LeBron's going to have 25, Ben's going to have 18, but Ben's also going to have 12 rebounds and 11 assists.
Let me tell you something, man. If anybody can hold LeBron to averaging 25 in the playoffs,
you win. You win. And Anthony Davis, to me, is a non-factor compared to Joel Embiid. I think Joel Embiid will win that matchup. He's not a
non-factor. No.
I think Joel Embiid will win that matchup 9.5 out of 10 times. So it's not a thought in my brain. I think we have the edge there. The bench depth is what's different. The Sixers have an $8 million trade exception, and they have a couple of guys that they can move. What is going to come over the next couple of weeks to the trade deadline, which I think is March 19th? What is going to come between now and then is really going to be interesting, how Daryl Morey builds out the rest of this roster. He now sees what he's got, and he knows what he needs, and I'm very interested to see how this progresses forward.
Yeah, I'd love to see him sign a Robert Covington-like player, just a 3-and-D wing guy that can give you some breaks on the defensive end and hit some shots. If anybody can do it there, Amorio, do it. We are out for today. Again, happy Valentine's Day. Please go follow us on Facebook at Big Phacts. We're going to start posting a little bit more from there and a little bit less from our personal pages. Also follow us on Spotify at Big Phacts. Justin, thanks for joining me. Jeff, thanks for joining us. YouTube.
You're a fucking SoundCloud rapper. Shouldn't you be able to know how to do the play?
I don't post on any of those things. I post on Spotify. Count my streams. See you guys on Tuesday.
All right, bro.
Take care, guys.